see y'all. What up, though? Hit the like button and the subscribe button when you come in. All right, let's get into it. Now, one of the great DJs from one of the great hip hop groups called Run DMC. Jam Master Jay was the DJ, right? And so he ended up getting, taken away from his family and friends, and one of those, sticks that he had going on. So they say they caught two. There's two are being charged for his murder. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. Okay. Shout out to the New York Times for this article. Let's get into it. All right. Two are charged in the killing of Jam Master Jay, hip hop pioneer. The two men had long been suspects in the 2002 killing of the DJ member of group Run DMC. Let's get it. All right, when Jam Master Jay, the DJ for the pioneer group Run DMC, was killed in his studio in Queens nearly 20 years ago, it struck the hip hop world with the force of tragedy. Shrines to Jay, whose real name was Jason Mizell, popped up in barbershops on the street corners. People wanted to know who could have gunned down a peaceful old school DJ whose group rapped mostly about sneakers, girls, and basketball. Over the next 2 decades, Mr. Mizell's murder achieved a mythic status as one of the rap world's coldest cases. There were plenty of leads, but none of them resulted in charges until now. On Monday, city and federal authorities announced that they had charged two men who had long been suspects in the case. The authorities blamed the fatal shooting on a cocaine deal going wrong. If you watch, if you go to Netflix and watch the documentary, that is basically what that is. It said it in the documentary. That's what they believe in the documentary. That it was a deal going wrong. That's what they believe. Even in the documentary, they believe that. Um, let's keep going. Where we at? Um, where'd I go? Wait, hold on. Oh, okay. Okay, we're right there. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So the two men, Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr., were charged with murder while engaged in drug trafficking in a 10-count indictment unsealed on Monday in the U.S. District Court in Brooklyn. Mr. Jordan pleaded not guilty at his arraignment Monday afternoon. Mr. Washington was expected to be arraigned later in the week. Both men face minimum sentence of 20 years in prison if convicted. Without going into specifics, Seth D. Ducharme, the acting U.S. attorney in Brooklyn, acknowledged that the authorities face serious challenges in pursuing the case since Mr. Mizell was killed in 2002. Mr. Ducharme credited Queens detectives, the FBI, and agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives for their persistent investigation. This is a case about murder that nearly 2 decades has gone unanswered. Mr. Ducharme said, today we begin to answer the questions of who killed Jason Mizell and why. According to the court papers filed on Monday, Mr. Washington and Mr. Jordan, both of them armed, broke into Mr. Mizell's studio on Merrick Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens, about 7:30 p.m. October 30, 2002. As Mr. Washington forced someone inside the studio to the ground at gunpoint, the papers say Mr. Jordan fired a bullet into Mr. Mizell's head, killing him almost instantly. Prosecutors said that two men had executed Mr. Mizell after he sought to exclude them from a multi-kilogram, multi-state narcotics transaction in July 2002, just months before the murder. Court papers say Mr. Mizell had received about 10 kilos of cocaine on a consignment from a supplier in Maryland. Oh yeah, Mr. Watson and Mr. Jordan were supposed to have been his partners in the deal, the papers say, but after a dispute which was not described, Mr. Mizell threatened to cut them off. There was a beef It didn't go as planned, and one official said. That was Mr. Washington, 56, is currently serving a federal prison sentence for 6 robberies. Mr. Jordan, 36, was taken into custody on Sunday. Okay, let's go up. Federal prosecutors first accused Mr. Washington of taking part in Mr. Mizell's murder in 2007 when he was convicted in the robbery case and sentenced to 210 months in prison, said Susan Kelman. His lawyer at the time, although prosecutors tried to use the murder of accusation in a bid to raise his sentence, Ms. Kellerman said she never took it seriously. I had a sense that somebody whispered something in the ear to get themselves out of trouble, she said, adding that Mr. Washington had always, and he was not the killer. When he heard the allegation, he was laughing. He said, good one, she said. Mr. Washington did not appear to have a lawyer representing him on the new charges. Mr. Jordan's lawyer did not return a request for comment. Mr. Jordan had previously been charged with the 10th murder and shooting of Mr. Mizell's nephew in 2003, but the case was dismissed when the nephew failed to cooperate with the authorities, according to law enforcement officials. Two witnesses in the case were cooperating with the government, said the law enforcement official who spoke on the condition of anonymity. In the weeks and months that followed the killing of Mr. Mizell, 37, detectives explored several possible explanations for the shooting, including that the gunman had a grudge against the rapper 50 Cent, a protege. Where we at? Sorry, y'all. I'm watching the game too. A protege of Jam Master Jay's and was trying to hit back at him by killing Mr. Mizell. That theory was later discounted. Yeah, they said that in the documentary on Netflix too. They had that in there too. Woo! That was nice. That was scrappy. Okay, let me stop. All right. Investigators who reviewed Mr. Mizell's business and personal relationships struggled with finding a motive and wondered why someone might want to kill a man who had not embraced prominent rivalries with others in the industry. The case went cold a few years later. Mr. Mizell spent several years of his childhood on Queens neighborhood of Hollis, which has a rich hip hop legacy. He gained nationwide fame as the trailblazing DJ for Run DMC, a trio that included Joseph Simmons, known as Run, and Daryl McDaniels, known as DMC. In the years before Mr. Mizell's death, he increasingly embraced the role of a local talent scout, listening to demo tapes of 14, 15-year-old rappers and making suggestions. In the 2002, he founded the Scratch DJ Academy, where students learn DJ techniques. After the case reopened in 2016, Mr. Mizell's older brother Marvin Thompson said in the interview that his brother felt he had nothing to show for all the work he had put into his career, and he wanted to cut ties with those around him. I got all these leeches on me, Mr. Thompson recalled his brother saying. Mr. Thompson remained convinced that the killing involved people close to Mr. Mizell, including some who were among 4 people in the studio that night. Man, who the heck? I don't know. There you go. Studio that night. I'd rather not know the truth, he said. You hear you hear so many different speculation and drugs jealousy. I need to know who and why. That's the major answer right there. Then I can have peace in my spirit. Mr. Mizell Mr. Mizell died in 2017, and did Mr. Mizell's sister, followed by his mother in 2019. Mr. Mizell's survivors include his widow and 3 sons. Where we at? Okay. Trinity Washington, 53, who managed Mr. Mizell DJ gigs while the musician was on tour, said he was so overwhelmed when he heard about the charges on Monday that he put down his phone and cried. It's been 18 years and it's the end of chapter of this situation. He said we can all move forward. The long wait had been agonizing for those who worked close to Mr. Mizell, in part because the case was tainted by rumors and innuendo. Mr. Washington said he wanted to preserve his legacy. Sorry, y'all. I'm watching this game. He's crazy. All right, he wanted to preserve his legacy, his friend's legacy. He didn't deserve to die that way that he did. We were totally appreciative of law enforcement and the job and that they did in their due diligence. He said. All right, that's it, man. All right, so shout out to the detectives are doing their work. We'll see if it sticks. They're charged right now. They're definitely charged right now. And, so people who've been waiting and wondering. Woo! They balling. I'm sorry, y'all. They balling. I gotta get up out of here. They balling, boy. Hell no. The Magic is putting the hurting on them boys. Back up. This is they ain't playing. They not. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah. So that's a good thing for the people who wanted closure and justice. This is a good thing. It's a good thing right here, man. And like they said, these are two people who they had on the list in the beginning. So we'll see how far it goes. Y'all know how the justice system is. Things can go. These can it can look like it's going one way, then it goes another way. With that being said, I'm out of here. Like the video, share the video, leave your comments below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you'd like to donate, there will be a PayPal and a Cash App in the description. See ya.